Okay, now he's got to get Instagram working. Instagram's a weird bird. You have to do a separate camera for that one. So getting that all working. He's pushing buttons for us right now, so just hang with me. If you've done this before, you know this is kind of our behind-the-scenes setup time for us to get together and chat a little bit. And he's setting up the camera, make sure I'm centered. And we're ready to go. All right, cool. Welcome. Glad you could be here. If it's your first time here, I am Dr. Joe Esposito. And what we're going to talk about today is what really makes a diet healthy. So the way we work now is I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, have an opportunity to ask me any health question you like. Type it in on your platform. John, my producer behind the camera there, will then read me the question at the break. I'll answer your questions for you. I won't know your name, so don't worry. It's not, you don't have to embarrass yourself. If you have a question you don't want to ask me, that's fine. You don't need to know who it is. I will then do another 24 minutes. John will ask me more questions at the end of 24 minutes. Please share this with your entire contact list. Vital information. This is important stuff because this is so confusing. Nutrition is just so confusing, and I'm going to try to make it really simple for you today. So I'm ready to start whenever you are, John. Okay, here we go. Got to get our camera set up. There we go. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Glad you're with me today. All right, I'm going to answer a question today a lot of you have, a lot of nutritionists have. What makes a diet healthy? The do's and don'ts of a healthy diet. Now, there are different types of protocols out there. There's high protein, there's low protein, high fat, low fat, Atkins diet, vegan, raw food, vegetarian, flexitarian, fasting, intermittent fasting. We're going to take all of that and say what's going to make a diet healthy. So I don't eat meat. I haven't had meat in almost 40 years now. That's okay. I'm not asking you to do that. That's what I choose to do. But there are certain guidelines you have to follow. A little spoiler alert. If you're going to do meat, everyone that I know of who knows what they're talking about agrees that you want to do organic only. You don't want to do conventional is pretty much what it boils down to. Conventional meat is not what it was when your grandparents were alive. And if you're old enough, when you were a kid. Everything was organic back then. It didn't even have a label. Now we have to label the good stuff, and the bad stuff kind of sneaks by. So we've been fed a lot of junk over the years, and unfortunately, it's had a major impact on our health, adverse impact on our health. So a couple of things across the board, no matter what you choose to do, is going to be some universal rules to discuss. So diet, it's probably one of the topmost factors that comes to mind when you think about health risks. You think about health risks, what is it? You probably might think about your job, you might think about exercise, but diet is probably the thing that comes up the most. There's strong evidence that a healthy diet can lower your risk of diseases, heart disease, diabetes, cancer. I don't think there's any question about that. And also prolong your lifespan. So there's a lot of benefits to eating a good diet. There's only one benefit to not eating a good diet, to eating a poor, ultra-processed junk food diet. Only one benefit. And that benefit, what do you think it is? The bad food tastes good. That's it. Because if you're eating the right amount of healthy food, it's cheaper than what you're doing right now, not just in your pocketbook short term, but certainly long term in healthcare costs and job ability, family. If you're a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a churchgoer, you want to have a lot of energy. You want to be functional. You don't want to start to develop Alzheimer's. I've been getting a lot of requests to do a show on Alzheimer's, and I'm probably going to do that in the near future just because so many people from all ages are saying, Dr. Joe, you need to do a show on Alzheimer's. So just little, spoiler alert, that's something we're going to do in the future. So recent research had looked at several different diets as healthy. Now, generally speaking, if you're looking at a healthy diet, there is a consensus. There's three different types: the Mediterranean, the MIND diet, M-I-N-D, and the DASH diet. Now, the Mediterranean diet is kind of like the granddaddy of them all. It's about 80% fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, a little bit of meat, a little bit of dairy products, a little bit of wine or alcohol, being outside, fresh air. So that's kind of like the standard. Then the DASH diet is dietary approach to stop hypertension, D-A-S-H. Cute how they did that, right? And then the MIND diet is the Mediterranean DASH, is an intervention neurodegenerative delay. So what basically they're saying, intervention for neurodegenerative delay. So that's for the mind. How do we take the Mediterranean diet, we take the DASH diet, we take the benefits of both of them, and it turns out when you do that, it helps your brain. So all three are almost exactly the same. It depends what you're shooting for. like the DASH diet, for example, dietary approach to stop hypertension, they cut out a lot of salt, where the other ones don't really mention salt that much. So minor tweaks here and there, but generally speaking, the overall protocol is going to be a lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, legumes, grains, beans, a little bit of meat, a little bit of dairy products, a little bit of alcohol, and a little bit of sugar. And that's about it. So we all kind of agree on the same thing. Now, there are these fringe diets. There's these all, carnivore diet. You got to eat the carnivore diet because that's what you're designed to eat. Short term, you're probably going to see a little bit of benefit. You might lose weight. It certainly tastes good. I haven't had meat in a long time, but I remember meat used to taste good. And you're kind of almost lying to yourself. I get to eat meat, and ha-ha, meat is good, and ha-ha-ha-ha. Well, it turns out long-term effects of that can be very devastating. Short-term, you might help a little bit, feel good. But long-term, your body does need carbohydrates to function, according to the research I've read, that I believe. And when you read research, there's always going to be something against what you're saying. You say go to a plant-based diet, there's going to be somebody saying go to a meat-based diet. Eat meat-based diet, go to vegetarian. So there's always going to be something. So the information I'm giving you is what I've come up with over 40 years. If eating a carnivore diet, in my research, was the best thing to do, I'd be eating meatball sandwiches every day. Absolutely. I'm basing it on objective analysis. And all the research across the board keeps going to the Mediterranean diet, the Mayan diet, and the DASH diet. They're not saying, this is across the board, scientists, double-blind studies, meta-analysis, meaning we're reviewing a bunch of different studies. What's the consensus? The consensus is mostly a plant-based diet. The blue zones, people that live the longest lives. What do the blue zone diets consist of? Essentially the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, the Mayan diet, essentially the same thing. Slightly tweaked here and there depending on where you live, what kind of food is available, what your culture is. But more fiber, more vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, less toxic chemicals, less processed foods. So let's talk about what makes a diet healthy and what doesn't. So there was a study published by the World Health Organization and the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, and they try to find out the do's and don'ts of what a good diet looks like. So even if you're eating a carnivore diet, which I don't agree with, but if you're going to be doing it, what can be benefits of that? Well, number one, you're not eating a lot of ultra-processed foods. You're not eating cookies and cakes and donuts and pastas and chips and hydrogenated oils and high polyunsaturated fats, linoleic acid, seed oils. So you're cutting out a lot of the bad stuff. And I believe that's why you see the benefits. You can eat a good diet without all that meat and not eat the ultra-processed foods and see exponentially more benefits. So that's the approach I would prefer you take. So the World Health Organization, it's called WHO, and the Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO, have come together and said, all right, what makes it work? So this is an overview of what type of nutrients you need, how many calories you should eat, and what a person should avoid. And the consensus is pretty clear across the board. So let's talk about carbohydrates for a second, because that's always the bad word. Oh, carbohydrates are bad, and I shouldn't eat any carbohydrates. I should cut out all my carbohydrates. Well, it turns out that idea doesn't work very well long term, especially for brain function and heart function too. So the joint statement notes that carbohydrates are an essential part of a person's diet, and they explain that they provide primary energy for the entire body. Your cells run on glucose, and carbohydrates, whether it's breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, get converted into glucose. That's the one form of fuel the body can use, and it utilizes the glucose. If you take in too much sugar, you overwhelm the cells with too much glucose. And then the cells can get clogged up. They can shut down. You raise your blood sugar, type 2 diabetes, fat, brain function problems. So it's that not just the amount of sugar that you're eating, but the type of sugar. And that's the key. We want to eat unprocessed carbohydrates. When you start eating processed carbohydrates, that's when it becomes a problem. So according to the report, carbs should make up about 45% of your daily calories and no more than 75%. So 45 to 75% of carbohydrates. But what kind of carbohydrates? Well, Dr. Joe said I can eat carbohydrates, and this double chocolate cake with cream cheese frosting, it's carbohydrate. So I guess it's okay. Doesn't work that way. So the best source of carbohydrates, whole grains. What's a whole grain? The grain the way it was picked. So if I'm going to eat oats, for example, Groats, which is the whole oat, is going to be the best choice. Steel cut oats, which is more practical, they take that, they dry it, and they cut it in little tiny bits. That's okay. Now I'm going to process it further. I'm going to heat it and roll it out and make rolled oats, and that's more processed. Not a good idea. And then instant oats are horrible. It's like eating pure sugar. So whole grains is what we're shooting for. The way it was picked. Quinoa, if you never had quinoa, Quinoa, I think it is. Quinoa is it looks like a little seed. It is a little seed. And it cooks up really nice, and it has a nice flavor to it, nice thickness to it. Hardiness, I should say. And little tiny things like poppy seeds. But you can use that to replace rice. You can put it in soups. You can just take it, and you want to put some stir-fried veggies on it, maybe some tamari, which is a higher-end soy sauce, and eat it that way. I've already just eaten quinoa. Take some quinoa, some air-dried sea salt, some pepper, maybe some hot sauce, and eat it that way. Very simple, very easy, very inexpensive, and very filling, and loaded with nutrients, including proteins, carbs, and fiber. So vegetables are great, fruits are great, peas, beans, lentils, those are all fine. Those are the carbohydrates you should be eating. You should not be eating wheat flour, because what is that? We take a wheat kernel, take off the bran in most cases, take out the germ, which is the nutrients, take what's left, the endosperm, grind it up into a flour. It's like eating pure sugar. So if you're eating bread, it's like eating pure sugar, unless it's a whole grain bread. If you're going to eat a bread, the best kind of bread to eat is going to be sprouted bread. Ezekiel is a brand name. I know Kroger has one that's sprouted. Sprouted bread is going to be your best choice. Now, it has a chewiness, it's not really chewy, but it's different than white bread that just kind of melts in your mouth. So, a sprouted bread is going to be your best choice. Because even though it has wheat in it, they sprout the wheat and it breaks down the gluten and it makes it much more digestible. So a much better choice would be sprouted breads. So carbohydrates, an essential what's called macronutrient. So macronutrients, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Micronutrients are pretty much everything else. Adults need about 130 grams of carbohydrate a day. Most people don't know what a gram of carbohydrate is. So I think when they post these things, it's kind of silly. Most of us don't know what a gram of carbohydrate is, or 130 grams of carbohydrates. What does that look like? You just want to eat the whole food, the low processed food. If you're going to eat dairy products, and I choose not to, but if you're going to eat dairy products, please, organic is the best. That's it. That's a very simple answer right there. Organic is the best if you're going to eat it. If you're not going to eat it, don't worry about it. But if you are going to eat it, make sure that it's organic. Foods provide not only energy, but things like potassium, chromium, and that can help stabilize blood sugar levels. Chromium is wonderful for stabilizing blood sugar levels. So is fiber. So is vinegar. Vinegar is great. Berberine is great. There's so many different things you can take as a supplement or as a food to help stabilize that blood sugar so it doesn't spike like drinking a soda and then crash. And when it crashes, you get tired, you get moody, and what do? You want to eat more sugar. Now, my brain works like your brain. When I have a little bit of sugar, there's one thing I want after that: more sugar. And when I say sugar, like a piece of bread, for example. I'm Italian. I love it. I don't know who doesn't love an Italian bread, a good bagel. If I eat something like that, I want more. If I eat a piece of watermelon, I don't want more watermelon. If I have a potato, I don't want more potatoes. But if I have a simple carbohydrate like breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, I just want more. Because the sugar goes into the brain, goes into part of the brain called the hypothalamus, and that controls hunger. But sugar doesn't really say, hey, I'm full. And so then it releases dopamine from the places like the nucleus accumbens and other places in the brain. And I get this rush of dopamine, and I want more. I love the pleasure I'm experiencing, and I want more. And so that's why carbohydrates, yes, they're essential. But when you're eating a whole food, you're also getting fiber. And fiber slowly pushes the sugar through the colon and gives you a slow release of sugar. And so you don't get that big rush and crash. You just get that slow release of sugar. So that's why when you're eating a piece of fruit, it's different than drinking fruit juice because of the fiber. And there's other phytonutrients and things that work synergistically together. So that's kind of nice too. So fiber is part of the food. It's really not digested. It kind of just pushes everything through. There's soluble and non-soluble fiber. Soluble fibers, things like oatmeal, okra, that sliminess, and those are really good because they wrap around toxic chemicals, excess hormones, cholesterol, and carry it out of the system. So eating things like that are great. Again, if you're going to eat oatmeals, what kind are you going to eat? Organic, steel cut. Just that simple. I'm not saying don't eat oatmeal. Organic steel cut is what you're looking for. Because if you're going to eat, why not eat the most effective, least expensive foods? And that would be what we're talking about, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. When it comes to healthcare or anything in life, my approach is what's the most effective, least expensive on anything. And when it comes to healthcare, a good diet is the most effective, least expensive. If you have pain, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, foot pain, fibromyalgia, shoulder issues, shoulder pain, radiating, headaches, what's the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain in the body? Chiropractic care. Chiropractic care, most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain in most cases. Not all, most. So if you have pain, how many have pain? Raise your hand. Most people suffer pain. Number 2 reason people miss work. Number 1 is the common cold. Number 2 is back pain. If you have pain, wouldn't it be nice to know that there was something you can do about it and not just deal with it forever? Maybe take drugs and have injections? What if you actually got to the cause of the pain and didn't just treat the symptoms? That's what we do in our offices. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Go to my website, drjoe.com, and make an appointment to come see us. Stop suffering needlessly. So many of you are suffering, and you don't have to be. And the biggest complaint I get is, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I come see you sooner, Dr. Joe? I said, I've been here 40 years. Why haven't you come to see me sooner? I don't know. I heard you speak 40 years ago. I should have come to see you then. Yeah, you should have. Now the joints have worn out. Some of the pain is chronic. Some of the damage is permanent. The sooner you get to us, the better it's going to be. So this week, make your commitment. Go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com, book an appointment. Normally the first visit, $940. I've reduced that for you, my listeners, to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I want to set a plan up for you. This is what's going to hopefully help with the pain. Maybe it's acoustic wave therapy. Maybe it's cold laser. Maybe it's nutrition. Maybe your stomach is pushed up against your diaphragm, and we need to pull your stomach away from the diaphragm. Let's put together a whole protocol. These are the best foods to eat, the best foods not to eat. These are the supplements that are customized for you. And then you can decide what you want to do. Why wouldn't you do it? If you don't want to do it, don't do it. That's fine. I'm not going to try to hard sell you. We don't go, well, you close the door. You need to do this right now. I'm going to give you the options. What you decide to do with that information is up to you. So stop suffering, drjoe.com. I'd love to be your doctor. So we're talking about the best, what does a good diet look like? We talked about fiber. Meat and dairy products, 0 fiber. Processed foods like breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, pretty much 0 fiber, very low, maybe 1 or 2 grams. You want to shoot for about 30 or 40 grams a day of fiber. And if you are, that means you're eating a lot of healthy foods, and that means the body's going to work better. Now, I don't recommend fiber supplements because they don't have the same effect. You got to have what we call the synergistic effect of the whole food. So apples, peaches, pears, bananas, pineapples, mangoes, kiwis, starfruit, watermelon, broccoli, avocados, lettuce, all the fruits and veggies. When you go to a grocery store, look at all those fruits and vegetables they have. Try some new ones if you don't know what they are. The nice part is you have your phone. Look up the phone and say, there's a kohlrabi. How do I make a kohlrabi? If you don't like it, don't eat it. But try new things. Expand your diet. When you go to a restaurant, pick the plant-based choice. I went to a steakhouse the other day, and I was meeting with somebody, and it's very interesting. And I had Brussels sprouts, sweet potato, and a salad with walnuts on it and some fruit. Now, the Brussels sprouts were not cooked in a good oil. I know that. But it was the best choice I could have made at that moment in time. And they were delicious. I have to say, they did a great job. But I want you to consider what's the best choice I can make right now. What type of fat should I have? The body has what's called essential fatty acids. Linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid. I know they sound very similar. I wish they would have done that. It was very confusing when I was studying this stuff. So linoleic acid are omega-6 fatty acids. They're essential fatty acids, but you only need a very little amount. And if you're eating food, you're probably getting enough omega-6 fatty acids. Now, what we do is we'll take omega-6 fatty acids from things like soybeans, corn, canola is made with rapeseed, cottonseed, sunflower, safflower, and we'll extract it. and it comes out, it's ugly, it's stinky, and we have to deodorize it in many cases. We have to take out the color, we have to clarify it, we heat it, we destroy the nutrients. And now we have what's called a polyunsaturated fat. That's margarine. That's fat in a can. Those canned. I won't say the brand name, but vegetable oils. They're not vegetable oils. They're really seed oils. I don't know why I call them vegetable oils, but they're very, very dangerous. And I want you to stop right now all your seed oils. Go to my website, drjoe.com. Just type in seed oil. I think that's the title of the show, and listen to what I taught you about seed oils. And I hope you take it to heart. Don't eat them, or eat them very, very limited if you can. Now, the omega-3 fatty acids are also what's called essential fatty acids, and you can get those. The most common thing we think about is fish. I'm not a fan of fish oil as a source of omega-3s. Yes, it's omega-3. Many times it's rancid. It means it goes bad. It goes bad very quickly. It can have mercury or heavy metals in it, and it has to be converted into what's called a phospholipid form. So krill oil is a better choice. Algae is the purest form. Now, you can eat things like certain seeds, sunflower seeds, walnuts, almonds. They're good sources of omega-6 fatty acids. But macadamia nuts, there we go. Macadamia nuts and walnuts have the omega-3s in them as well. So eating some nuts here and there is going to be good for you. I take an omega-3 supplement, and I think you should too. It's essential for brain function. It's called an essential fatty acid. You have to get it from an outside source. Brain function, inflammation, slows down the aging process, antioxidant. I take Dr. Joe's omega-3. It's on the website, drjoe.com. The bottle says take 1 a day. I take 2 a day. Now, it's probably the most expensive supplement we have. It's not that expensive, but I mean, as far as that goes. And I looked at it one day, and I take a lot of supplements. I stack my supplements. I take a lot of supplements. And I said, how much would it cost to take these supplements? I take a lot. Probably about $10, $11 a day. Less expensive than a fancy coffee. And if you're eating good foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and you go to a restaurant or you're eating at home, you're going to save way more than that every day. So you're going to save so much money, you're going to feel better, probably live longer, slow down the aging process, help the brain, help the digestive system, help you love life. Why wouldn't you do these things? It's so simple and it's so easy. And if you don't know what to eat, go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type, "So what can I eat?" in the search bar. And there's a lecture I gave. It's absolutely free. My website has over 4,000 hours of content, absolutely free, drjoe.com. So go to the website, look things up, send me questions through the website. I'm happy to answer your questions for you. It's there 24 hours a day. I probably get 10, 15, 20 questions a day on the website. I will answer them for you, drjoe.com. But best thing to do is make an appointment to come see us. And you can book it right online. We have offices 3 offices in the Atlanta area: Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, West Cobb, 4 offices. And normally the first visit is $940. I've reduced that to $299. Now, the supplements we're talking about, because I swear by this, even if you're eating a good diet, and I eat a really good diet, even if you're eating a really good diet, you're probably not going to get all the nutrients you need for ultimate function. You'll survive. I want you to thrive. So, laughing, she goes, "I love milkshakes." She goes, "And I can't do milkshakes because I get so bloated, my sinuses run." She says, "So I take Dr. Joe's Mint Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and some coconut milk, shake it up and drink it in the morning. It's like a milkshake." One of the things D3 does is absorb calcium into the blood. K2 takes it from the blood and brings it into the bones. I don't want you building up excess calcium in your arteries. So Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, B complex, because you pee your B vitamins out every day, except for B12. Nitric oxide opens up the blood vessels.